So, to sort of stick on theme, which we were watching earlier, of course, we watched John Doyle's ridiculous diatribe on adult film. And now, Elliot Hulse has a video called When Bustin' Nuts Goes Bad. So let's take a look at this.
And then you're walking around wondering what to do with my life. I'm confused about my purpose in life. I have no energy. I don't want to do anything. Nobody respects me. Why won't girls talk to me? Why am I failing in everything that I do? Well, it's because you're giving your fucking power away every time you nut.
Yo, Elliot.
All these goddamn succubuses are trying to steal my energy.
Yo, Elliot, I'm also interested in knowing your opinion on semen retention or NoFap, as it's more popularly known, as I'm currently 2 weeks into this and feeling full of life. Thanks for your time, brother. So, look, I know what you're doing right now. You're asking for affirmation or confirmation or validation, and I'm going to give it to you because the fact is you don't need it from me. You already know the answer to that, because you're already starting to feel full of life. Remember in the beginning of the call, I was telling you about how testosterone is man juice? Well, we also know that every time a man busts a nut, his testosterone levels drop. You lose a tremendous amount of vital and nutritional power. You lose.
Okay, Tate, your testosterone levels go down directly after, but then they stabilize back to a neutral level. It's a temporary state of being. It's not like you have a finite amount of testosterone. Did I say Tate? I'm sorry, we were just watching Tate. Elliot, you do not have like a life bar of cum, and then every time you nut, your testosterone goes down, and then once it's empty, you're just screwed. Your body, assuming that you're like functioning hormonally properly, you produce hormones. Those levels are going to vary depending on the activities you're taking part in. That's fine. That's normal.
There's a lot of strength when you bust nuts. That's why guys like Mike Tyson wouldn't have sex weeks before he would go into a fight. Watch some videos about Mike Tyson talking about sex and boxing.
Right? Okay, look, Mike Tyson, one of the greatest boxers to ever enter the ring. Absolutely. Not a doctor. Not a sports medicine person. No offense, I don't trust his opinion on cooming.
Right? All the old boxers used to do that. And of course, our degenerate world they try to tell people that that's a myth, but the proof is in the pudding. And the greatest athletes understood.
I think even Mythbusters did an episode on this, or it was a show similar to Mythbusters, and they had some athletic competitions, and as a control, they had them all do one thing, like not masturbate or something, or not sleep with their partner, and then they brought them back a little bit later in the week, and they had them do something different, and they found no, like, clear pattern in terms of sexual activity, and their difference in performance between the two different activities. I think it was like a race was what they were using, but like, yeah, I don't know, it just seems strange to me to think that, but I don't know.
That if you want to have full vitality, full strength, full focus, full energy, be full of vigor, you can't be out there busting nuts. And because we live in a world that's addicted to pleasure, and that pornography is available at the tip of your fingers, right, the palm of your hand, we're just spilling our power all over the place.
Don't do that everywhere. Don't do that all over the place. Get a tissue or something. Jesus.
And I can tell you from recent experience in my life, right? Like a lot of you guys are a lot younger than me, and so you might not notice it as poignantly as I do, but I'm beginning to notice it now that I'm 41, that when I have sex, right? If I have sex with my wife, the next day, and maybe like the next 2 days, my focus is not there. My vigor is not there. My workouts are not as strong. Me and my wife have this running joke, though, that I give her my strength. And so, the night after having sex or the day after having sex, she has a great workout. She's bouncing all around. She's feeling great. And I'm just dragging, and I'm like, you stole, I tease her, but I tell her, you stole my strength. Look at you bouncing around here. I'm dragging. You took all my strength, woman. You're going to kill me. And that's part of
Samson's strength actually wasn't stored in his hair. It was stored in the balls, like all good things are.
the reason why men die before women. Women menstruate once a month. That means a woman releases all that vital nutrient because there's a lot of vitality that's
Oh no!
that's in a woman's womb, in her uterus. A lot of the food that she eats and a lot of food that you eat goes into sexual reproduction stuff. And so a lot of that nutrition that she's eating is going into that vital or into that reproductive organ. And then once a month she sheds it. And when a woman sheds it once a month, you look at how she acts like coming up to that. Right? She's like not feeling so good, and like the day of her period, she's like, oh, like tired. She might even look like
It's because of hormonal changes and because of the fact that it's not comfortable. From what I understand, you're shedding your uterine lining, and that can involve cramps. That can involve all sorts of different things. Some people get really bad headaches. Some people get nauseous. But it's not like this magical nutrient thing. It's because of like drastic changes in hormones and all sorts of other bodily processes that happen during people's like menstrual period.
sunken. It's because it's like somebody just sucked the life out of her because there's a lot of vitality in that. There's a lot of
It's because she feels like shit.
nutrition in a woman.
Okay, it's not because the uterine lining that's being shed during menstruation is a uterine lining that's there for if you get a fertilized egg so it can implant on the uterine wall. But if that doesn't happen, the body needs to flush that so it can prepare it again for next month, assuming that you are fertile and have a uterus. It's not nutrients that your body is like using other than for that purpose. It's not like your body, when you're not on your period, is like, oh yeah, I'm doing well, I'm feeding off the nutrients in your uterine lining. It's there in preparation for potential like impregnation. I'm not like a reproduction person. I don't have any authority on this. And like, I think I know enough to know this is fucking bullshit, right? What the fuck?
Woman's in her sight.
Also, by his own logic, his wife received his power coom, and it made her feel better. So does that not mean that he should be, I don't know, taking his wife's tampons and using them like popsicles to maybe get some of that vigor back?
Cycle blood.
Stick him in the freezer for a couple hours.
Right? I'm not telling you that you need to like drink it. Don't drink it.
Oh my god, he's
Don't do it. But there are cultures that will use it like to like they'll water a tree with it, right? Maybe like witches and stuff. But
Yeah. Witches, famous for growing plants with their menstrual blood.
there's scientific validation to that. There's like, well, there's a lot of nutrition there that might be good for the growth of the plant. And even though
I don't know enough to know if that's true or not.
her placenta after having a baby, like in certain cultures and certain animals, they eat it because it's full of a whole lot of stuff. But you got to consider a woman may have, let's say today she has 2 babies, right? That's average. 2 babies. So that's 2 times her body's, and those are traumatic. There's a lot building up in her, and then she purges it. And then 12 times a year where it's a smaller one. She has a purge. Think about that compared to a man who busts his nut every day. Some of you guys, I know that you're nutting every day. You're ejaculating every day. You're ejaculating every day. 365.
The hormone, again, I'm not like a reproductive person. I'm not a doctor. I'm not anyone who would be qualified to say this. But if someone could let me know, I would very much imagine that the hormonal shift that takes place after you climax as someone with like testosterone and a penis and testicles is not as variable as someone with a uterus and vagina who is dealing with like menstrual symptoms. If I had to guess. Someone let me know if anyone knows anything about that, but I very much doubt they're comparable in terms of the actual levels of changing.
5 ejaculations. Each ejaculation has the protein of like 4 steaks and like a dozen eggs.
Hot. Elliot, how much are you producing in each? 'Cause no, they don't. How much protein do you think is in your cum?
Right? Don't quote me on that, but go look it up. Montauk Chia, he does some videos.
Baha, who is a 4th-year PhD student in developmental genetics, says it's like comparing donuts to tires. They aren't comparable at all. Thank you.
With Brian Rose, and he talks about this. And every time you release that, you drain yourself. You're draining yourself of that, and your hormones shift. Oxytocin goes up, right? You literally become a little bit more woman-like every time you.
Fellas, is it gay to ejaculate?
Ejaculate, right? Maybe even estrogen goes up. I don't know, but you're.
No. If estrogen noticeably increased after you masturbate, which it doesn't, people are even saying your T goes up, I would have masturbated constantly before I got on my hormones.
But your testosterone definitely goes down for a little bit of time. You can feel it. I feel it right away. I didn't used to, or at least I wasn't sensitive enough to notice it when I was younger. But like the past year or two,
you're probably just tired because sex is a, physically intensive, emotionally intensive activity, especially if it's with your partner, and it's a wonderful thing, but you're probably tired. You're probably tired because you engaged in that activity. It doesn't have to be a hormone thing. You're in your 40s, man.
I've been noticing it. So you guys that have, all this vital energy and you're spilling it out all over the place, and then you're walking around wondering what to do with my life. I'm confused about my purpose in life. I have no energy. I don't want to do anything. Nobody respects me. Why won't girls talk to me? Why am I failing in everything that I do? Well, it's because you're giving your fucking power away every time.
No, those issues are probably stemming from some other things. I very much doubt it's because you're cooming.
You nut. There's the moral law. Most moral laws support, most religious moral law. And this is why I have a call to tradition. A lot of people are like, Elliot, we can't go back to tradition. Tradition's not gonna work. You got to understand something. Tradition supports moral law.
According to you, I would disagree, as would a lot of people.
There's a reason why the church said don't jerk off, right? There's a reason why it's a sin, right? Now,
there are a lot of things that are sins for various reasons. I think people probably used to think it was a sin because they didn't know enough about anatomy to understand that, like, sperm is not a finite resource. If you are... Ooh, my phone's gonna die. If you're healthy, if you're capable, your body will produce more semen, more sperm. It probably thought of it as a finite resource. Also, sexual control is a really good way to control people, which is why the church does it.
Now,
shame is a powerful force, and if you can make them feel shame about something that everyone does, you have control over them.
The natural law says that you're spilling your seed. So it's kind of a waste, and in a way.
It's funny that he says natural law and not just the Bible says. It's like he wants to couch it in a way that isn't explicitly Christian, but it is.
That's a spiritual law. God's like, don't spill the seed because it's powerful and it has a co-creative power to it, and you don't want to waste it, and you don't want to go around having sex with women and spilling your seed.
Okay, here's the context of that. Here's what happened. Well, if anyone quotes that and doesn't give the context, they're being incredibly disingenuous. The whole spilling your seed concept came out of a story in which, back in the time that this Bible story took place, it was traditional, because women weren't allowed to take care of themselves, unfortunately, that if a husband died, then the brother would marry the woman to take care of her and fulfill husbandly duties. So there was a story where a man died and his brother ended up taking in the wife and marrying her. And he didn't really want to have kids, or he didn't want to impregnate her for whatever reason. So he would have sex with her, and then he would pull out and spill his seed upon the ground, right? And that was considered a sin because he was neglecting his husbandly duties according to that story. It wasn't even a story about masturbating. It was a story about pulling out. So, just letting you know.
Not, in other words, not getting her pregnant, because there's a manipulative power that's associated with sex, and that's why a lot of you guys get addicted to women. Let women push you around. So there's a psychological law, there's a spiritual law, and there's a natural law. Natural law says you keep busting your nuts, you're going to be weak. You're going to be weak. And like I said, you're going to die earlier. Another joke I have with my wife is that every time
It's actually funny because I used to actually like masturbate way more before, like when I wasn't out of the closet and when I wasn't on hormones. And I would argue I'm much weaker now, at least physically, certainly, and I masturbate less. Funny how that works, huh?
I have sex with her, I'm like, that's one day less that I'm going to live. That's just one less day. And in a way, it's true. In a way, it takes away your vitality. And that is, and I don't know if this is, you go do your research, but I've heard it said, and it makes sense, that this is
lots of people are saying, if you let them take your coom, you're going to be weak. You're going to be a loser. Do not let them take your coom. The Democrats and the communists, they're coming for your coom.
The part of the reason why men die before women. Because we're ejaculating 365 times a year rather than them 12.
You gotta pump those numbers up.
We give ourselves away. Even beyond no fap, semen retention is important to consider as well, because we just give a piece of ourselves away every time we have sex.
That's not how that works.
We gotta ask ourselves, is it worth busting this nut right now?
Yes.
And we should be on a nut busting timetable. This is another one. I've heard a couple doctors talking about this, prominent people, but Montauk Chia talks about it also too.
Prominent people are saying we need a timetable. Where is the timetable for cooming?
That based on your age, there's a certain amount that you should and should not be, like a time frame between when you ejaculate. And so I know that and I have a book that I need to go look it up. I think I have a book that tells you. Oh, I'm pretty sure I do. I have to go look for that book. What is it called? It's called Listen to Your Body or something like that. But anyway, in it, and according to these experts, at a 41-year-old man, I'm not supposed to be busting my nut any more than once every 10 days. Think about that. There's some times that I was having sex like 3-4 times a week with my wife. Once every 10 days. Right? And
imagine going up to your wife and being like, hey, honey, you know how we really love having sex and we do it like 3 or 4 times a week and that's great? She's like, yeah, honey, what's wrong? Well, I need to retain my power, which is, of course, stored in the balls. So no more. Once every 10 days. Oh, okay, honey. Gotta keep those balls powerful.
20-year-old, shouldn't be something like once every 5 days, right? And as a 30-year-old, it should be like once every 7 days, something like that. Go look it up. I don't remember the author of the book, but look into this stuff. You do your own research. I'm just kind of like throwing it out there to pique your interest. So that's it, man. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think semen retention is a good idea. I think NoFap, it's supported by the spiritual law, the moral law, the natural law. It's not virtuous. It's not manly. It's not a good thing to do.
Fellas, is it gay to touch your own dick? Unironically, his point is that.
It's not even my opinion or my judgment. Just
It quite literally is, actually.
look at the fruits or the lack thereof. And so that's it. That's my opinion. Hope that helps, dude. Done. Yo, it's your bro, Elliot Hulse here. I hope.
Oh, Elliot. Elliot, no. Well, now we know how often Elliot has sex with his wife. Didn't need to know that one.